Welcome to the ultimate crowdsourced personal finance show. This is your Friday Roundup.
You're listening to ChooseFI Radio. The blueprint for financial independence lives here. If you're looking to unlock the secrets to financial independence and early retirement, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and join a community of like-minded people who are getting off the hamster wheel and taking control of their lives in the pursuit of financial independence. ChooseFI, your home for financial independence online.
Okay, guys, welcome back. This is your Friday Roundup, and to help me do the show today, I have my co-host Brad here with me in the studio. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Jonathan. We are back to school this week.
I was going to say, and I think your youngest daughter is starting school, right?
Yeah, little Molly started kindergarten. Today, we're actually recording on Thursday. So yeah, today was her third day. It's pretty crazy. I mean, obviously, it's wonderful that she's growing up and she's loving school. So it's really cool to see. But now Laura and I are home alone, which is crazy. I mean, Laura has basically been a stay-at-home mom for the last 9+ years. And I kind of half jokingly said to a friend that we're like empty nesters now. It's a crazy new world here. And obviously that was tongue in cheek because I clearly know the definition is different. But every single day now we have from 8 o'clock till 3 to just kind of hang out and live a FI life in a sense. So it's a whole new world for us.
Yeah, I think this is going to pose an interesting question for you guys. I mean, what are you going to do with all this free time? Is it the library? Are you going to go find some coffee shops? Have you guys got a plan for this window?
Yeah, Jonathan, it's a really good question. We're in day 3 of this, so we're just trying to navigate it. I think literally Laura has had more free time in the last 48 hours than she's had in the prior 9 years. And I mean, that's not hyperbole. That's legitimate. And it's a different world for her. Not to say that again, but it really, really is. And yeah, I mean, we have to figure out what this looks like. We're fortunate. We're incredibly fortunate. We have all this time. We have resources, obviously, and we're young and we're healthy. Like we can do anything. That's what's so exciting about this. I mean, if we wanted to put the kids on the bus at 7:45 and then drive to Shenandoah National Park and go for a hike, we could do that and literally do that in one day. We can really do essentially anything. And now we're just trying to figure out what that looks like. So, I mean, today, for instance, we're going out to lunch. I mean, we haven't been out to lunch together as a couple in a decade, as crazy as that sounds. And we're going to kind of just explore and see what Richmond has to offer that we just haven't done. Just not because we're limited by kids. I don't mean to paint it like that, but just that has been our life for a long time. And now we have these options.
Well, speaking of growing up FI, that's a pretty interesting transition because this week we talked to Fiery Millennial and she just shared with us how she crushed this game in her teens and early 20s. And because of the decisions that she made up to this point, she is at the place where she could retire by the age of 30, really, if she wanted to, and certainly by 35. And it painted a remarkable picture that maybe we'll get a chance to explore today. And this is one of those things, we said that we wanted to contrast this with second generation FI, because in my mind, your kids are second generation FI. They are going to grow up having seen mom and dad make these choices and be able to reclaim their time and spend it with them and then mentor them through this process. I can't imagine that your kids are going to go pull a total 180 from the path you chose. I mean, they aren't going to be on the exact same path, but I'm sure that this path that you found will influence the life that they choose.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. And it's funny. I think each of my daughters has exhibited some of our behaviors in 2 totally different ways, which is kind of neat to see. I've mentioned on prior podcasts about my younger daughter, Molly, being this ultra minimalist, and she loves cleaning with me. She loves just going up into the attic and literally getting stuff that's basically just junk and throwing it out. She actually derives pleasure from that. We did it 2 days ago. And she's like, Daddy, let's go up in the attic and throw things out. And I mean, what kind of 5-year-old kid actually says that? It was just it was so cool. And my pseudo minimalist heart just skipped a beat because it was fantastic.
Pseudo minimalist. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And my older daughter, Anna, this was even funnier. We actually had open house at her school last week where they basically go and just kind of meet the teacher and drop some things off, etc. And Anna's best friend is actually sitting right next to her. And Anna was talking to her mom, and they were talking about these glue sticks that they got. Okay. So they had to get like 12 glue sticks. And this girl's mom was like, can you believe, we needed so many? And Anna's like, oh my God, I know. And they're so expensive. We had to go to 2 stores and then look on the computer to buy them. And it's like, that was her response immediately. Like she went to, man, I can't believe they were just more than I valued, which is kind of like my valuist thing. And Laura always looking for deals, and Anna just has that, like she is just a frugal person by nature. I could come up with 100 different examples of times she's been aghast at how much something cost. And it's really funny, but yeah, she doesn't mind spending money on things that she does value. So similar to me.
The valuist.
It all comes back to that, right? But yeah, so 2 tiny little stories, but it's interesting to see how your kids do pick this stuff up. And we haven't been overt about this. We haven't pushed into them saying like, oh, you have to save money, or, oh, you have to not spend money. It's just they see how we live and they pick things up that work for their own personalities and lives. And it's really cool.
I don't want to belabor this, but it does strike me that this show is kind of a chance for us to document our journey. But since we have families, it's more than that. To some degree, it's documenting the progression of our kids, right? And I think it'll be cool if this show continues for 5 or 10 years to see what those experiences actually look like. I mean, we talk about second generation fire, and in our Facebook group, we're able to share the stories of not only Brad and Jonathan, but also the stories of our communities and how we're trying to implement these ideas into our kids' lives. But it's cool that we can take just a couple minutes each morning and talk about the practical implementation of that and actually what you're seeing on the ground. So my son is now 4 months old, and Brad, he had some progress as well. He rolled over yesterday.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a big step. It's not a frugal step, but man, is that good for him. That's awesome.
It was huge. It was huge. And he could do it now. He just does it. If you set him on his stomach, he's not going to stay on his stomach, rolling onto his back. Big deal.
That's cool. Did you take a video and send it to your family throughout the world?
I tried, but he freezes on camera. You bring out your phone and he instantly knows, and he just scowls at you like, nah, man, not going to do it.
Smart kid. I like that.
And while I could talk about my kid and your kid for the entire show, what I really wanted to focus on today was not so much second generation FI, but this millennial path to FI that we actually talked about on Monday. And in contrast with Fiery Millennial, while Gwen didn't have her parents walking her through this process, she had that light bulb moment on her own. She was young enough when she discovered this rabbit hole that time itself is now a lever that she's able to pull. And so we talked through a few of the things that she did, but just the fact that she had found multiple ways to hack college, and she graduated college with actually 10 grand in the bank. On top of that, she leveraged obvious networking tools like finding an internship to make sure that she had a great job waiting for her when she got out of school. And just every step of the way, she's made a choice that you want to share with maybe your younger siblings, depending on where you are in life, or maybe with your kids, if you're a parent. I mean, because you can see how when you take all the stuff that we talked about and then you apply it to this younger generation, just a few right choices early on are enough to completely break this game. I mean, and frankly, we'll be done at the latest by the time she's 35, and realistically could probably pull the trigger on FI by the time she's 30. And to me, that's such a remarkable outcome for someone that did not grow up with a silver spoon, that you almost just want to pause on it and just highlight those choices, because anybody can achieve this stuff. It literally was not rocket science. It was just finding a few good ideas that other people had modeled and then just implementing those one at a time into your own life. And then in her case, the reason we're all able to benefit from it is that she was willing to share her story both on her website, fierymillennials.com, but also come on the podcast and share it. And just right out the gate, we appreciate her taking the time to do that.
Yeah, and it was great to speak with Gwen. She's funny, she's interesting, she's got a great story. So that was all wonderful. And she's made a lot of fantastic choices. And I think Gwen certainly mentioned this, like, while she had a fantastic high school record because of how well-rounded she was and all that stuff, like, she didn't have the 36 on the ACT or the 1600 on the SAT, but she was really, really intelligent about finding the school where she could get a full scholarship. And there's a lot there. And I know I can draw like a parallel to my own life, thinking back on, frankly, how stupid I was and how I wish that I was like Gwen. And I wasted a lot of money on college. And I don't mean wasted because, I had a wonderful experience, yada, yada, yada. But realistically, and this is certainly not like, this is an awkward thing. This is not like a pat myself on the back, but I did have that top 1% SAT score and things like that. And I did get into Ivy League schools and places like that. So if I was a little bit smarter, instead of focusing on that, I should have focused on the 2,000 colleges that I probably would have gotten a full merit scholarship from. Wouldn't that have been more intelligent? And I think back and say like, wow, I wasted how many of her dollars? It was $100,000. I don't even know precisely, but on college, when if I was just a little smarter like Gwen and focused on a place that I could have gone for free, like that could have been transformative. And I would have came out of college with the money that my parents saved for me. And instead of throwing it away, it would have been sitting there to buy a house or invest in VTSAX or whatever it may have been, right? Like, and that could have been a real game changer. And I definitely applaud Gwen for doing it the right way. And looking at the rules, like how cool was it that she said, I think it was a 28 on the ACT, like she needed a 28, she got it, and that got her this full ride. And that's amazing.
I loved your classy use of the yada, yada, yada on that sentence. I mean, it's like this secret life hack that you can just gloss over your entire life with it, yada, 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 and then just move on with the rest of your day. Very efficient. I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. And well placed, sir. Well placed.
Thank you.
But on a serious note, I do think there's a lot of value to what you just added with that. I think so many of us try to get the absolute perfect score and we miss that point of diminishing returns. And by focusing on what you actually need, do that. Get what you need, and then figure out what's the next thing. And instead of putting all your emphasis on this, on trying to squeeze this extra few percentage points out, do what you need to do, and then be awesome at something else as well. That will also help you hit your goal. Hit your goal from multiple angles instead of trying to be in the top 0.01% of any one thing and sacrificing everything else to achieve that goal. Yada, yada, yada. So today, really where we wanted to land is we wanted to discuss this concept of this cruise control path to FI. And we wanted to place a lot of emphasis on this idea of if you do just a few things right early on, it sets the path for the next 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, it's remarkable. We love talking about concepts, principles, theories, but we have found that some of the more powerful segments in our show has been actually walking you through the math. And as strange as that sounds, because numbers really, historically speaking, don't work well on a podcast, but when they're big enough, they can be very rewarding. And so this is a fun number to illustrate and a fun concept to illustrate. So let's imagine that the second generation FI case study is able to graduate college with no debt. And maybe they even come out with a positive net worth, but they follow some of the principles and the guidelines that we've explored over the last several episodes and will continue to explore. And they're able to start their financial freedom clock as soon as they graduate college. And immediately they start maxing out that 401k. If that person maxes out their 401k from the age of 22 to 32, and then they use this cruise control principle, which says once you get enough in your account early on, you can just stop. Now, this is kind of more of a theoretical concept because it's hard for me to imagine somebody that goes from saving this kind of money to just completely walking away from the path altogether. But I think it'll still allow us to illustrate the point. This person maxes out those 401ks from 22 to 32, and then they just either exit the workforce or they stop saving a dime. They just live paycheck to paycheck for the rest of their working career, from the age of 32 all the way up to 60. Brad, I know you went ahead and ran the math on that. How much would that person have waiting for them in their 401ks at the age of 60?
At the age of 60, they would have $2.4 million.
Wow.
That is just a remarkable number. And like you said, they're only investing and only living the FI life in this kind of silly but interesting example for 10 years. It's 10 years where they're just maxing out their 401k. So basically that's 10 years of $18,000 contributions. So $180,000 total contributed turns into $2.4 million. And that is the perfect example of compounding over time, right? And just giving yourself as much time as possible to let the wonders of compounding work for you over decades.
So let's dial in on this. So that number, $2.4 million, is incredible. And that's what they would have waiting for them at the age of 60. But keep in mind that this person was on this cruise control path to FI. So they only invested and saved from the age of 22 to 32. So this 10-year window, this 10-year period of time. And I guess I'm curious, Brad, when you take a look at that same math, the person that just invested for that 10-year window from 22 to 32, and if we bake in that 8% rate of return, how much did they have in the account when they turned 32?
Yeah, so at 32, they had, it looks like about $282,000, which is certainly a nice number, but keep in mind that includes the 180,000 of contributions, right? So that 180 that they've contributed in $18,000 yearly increments turned into 281 by the time they're 32, which is phenomenal. Not many 32-year-olds have a $282,000 401k, but that's not that mind-spinning number. What actually is the magic is that money just sitting there from 32, turning from 282,000 all the way up to 2.4 million at the age of 60. And that's with $0 of future contributions. So, that should, for anybody out there in the audience, that should really get your mind spinning about just the power of time and the power of compounding. So Jonathan always talks about second generation FIRE. This is the perfect example of get your kids started as early as humanly possible. Those years, you can't get them back.
Yeah, and it's even more than that. Like once you understand the power of this, I think it changes your strategy overall. Now, I know there are so many people out there that are thinking to themselves, wow, I would really like to be a stay-at-home mom or dad at some point. And the conflict that you feel when you say, well, that is going to destroy our savings rate. And we can never go back. None of us can go back. But when we're mentoring our kids, when we're mentoring the next generation with this information, I think it does move the playing field. And I think in America, we put so much emphasis on the 3 or 4 career paths that we feel that you can get in order to get the 6-figure income. So we know that you'll be set. But in many cases, those career paths come with 8 to 12 years of school, where you're tied down. And when you come out, you have 6 figures of student loan debt that you have to pay off. And when you pay down that student loan debt, you're stuck on that hamster wheel into your mid-30s before you ever get that financial freedom clock going and you're actually able to start. But if we start talking about life in terms of the cruise control path to FI, it changes everything. You don't need nearly as much. All you need to do is focus on that savings rate. Get that savings rate as high as possible, as early as possible. Get that financial freedom clock started as quickly as possible. And if you don't start out life by graduating school at the age of 28 to 32, and you don't start out life with 6 figures of debt, and you're able to reclaim your 20s, so that's not the lost decade that it was for me and it was for so many other people. If you're actually able to use your 20s as this powerful lever that you can get this little mini nest egg build up, and then for whatever reason, you have to bail on the workforce, or you're not able to put that money aside for the rest of the time. If you're able to do it for a relatively short window, time will take care of the rest for you. So time is a pillar of FI. You can't put enough emphasis on this. And how many personal stories do I know where an individual was willing to go, let's just use the prototypical example. Let's say they went to med school or pharmacy school. Let's say after that, they came out with $168,000 of debt. By the time they ended up paying off their loans because they were very aggressive, they're in their mid-30s. And at that point, they're just burnt out. They're totally 100% burnt out. This avoids all that. This allows you to get all of that freedom, all of that flexibility, all of that power, move it to your side of the ledger earlier in life. So you get to make decisions that are in your best interest in your 30s and 40s. And I think if we can just use this as a general framework, it will allow us to create a strategy that has a lot more options. You no longer have to pick these 1 or 2 or 3 careers that you think are going to get you to the outcome you want, but rather you get to do almost anything you want, because in the background, all you need to have are just a few of these principles locked down.
And yeah, you talk about 20s, your 20s, right? Like I'm actually interested in, and I'm doing some research on this now, but we had talked about this on episode 18 with Jeremy from Go Curry Cracker. And it was about contributing to your children's Roth IRAs when they are extremely young. In his case, I think his son was an infant or 1 year old or thereabouts when he had him doing quote unquote modeling for a book cover or the website. And when your children have that earned income, you can contribute up to 100% of that to a Roth IRA, assuming it's, of course, under the limit, which I think currently is $5,500 a year. So, I mean, could you imagine being able to put $5,500 a year in your kids' Roth IRAs when they're 1 year old or even 13, right? Like, let's say I was just running the numbers while Jonathan was talking. And let's say your kids do, I don't know, babysitting or mowing the lawn. And this is actually what I'm trying to get some clarification on. I sent this over to Keith from The Wealthy Accountant, and I expect he'll hopefully get us a voicemail in the next week or two. No pressure there, Keith, of course. But I know Keith's probably listening to this. But I need some exact clarification on specifically what type of income, how you have to document it, those kind of things. Like, I wouldn't want to say that my daughters mowed the lawn and I paid them, and then the IRS come in at some point in the later years and knock that down. So especially before I give this as a pronouncement to the audience out there, like, we need to dot every I and cross every T. But it is a certainty that you can contribute for children under 18 to Roth IRAs. So I was just saying, like, hypothetically, if I put $5,500 into one of my daughter's Roth IRAs from the time they were 13 to the time they were 18. So $5,500 a year. And that's total contributions of $27,500. All right, just 5 years times the 5,500. And then I said zero is going in from 18 to 60. In this hypothetical, I'm putting in $5,500 a year into each daughter's Roth IRA. Okay, so this is for just 5 years from the time they're 13 to 18. All right, so $5,500 times the 5 years is $27,500. So that's all the contributions that are going in from me. And then at 18, it stops and it just kind of compounds on its own, just on autopilot from 18 to 60. All right. And at 60 years old, that $27,500 that I had put in will turn into $882,000. Yeah, I mean, that is just a remarkable, remarkable figure. And then if you actually add our prior example where, all right, they go to college, they get out of college and they max out their 401ks for 10 years and then let that ride until they're 60, that's another $2.4 million. That's almost $3.3 million that they'll have just for really what's a fairly small amount of contributions in the grand scheme of things, about 200,000 total in contributions. So that is the power of time. That is the power of compounding and just starting early.
And you have to contrast this with me, and I'm the quote unquote success story. You know, I got the 4-year doctorate. I got the professional degree. I have the 6-figure income. But my net worth at the age of 30 years old was negative 6 figures because I was paying down all these student loans. I pay down all the student loans aggressively because I found the rabbit hole. I've discovered FI. I want to crush this game. And so I have a positive net worth by the time that I'm 32 years old. And now, let's say now that I actually start sending every extra dollar I have to my student loans, and specifically I start maxing out my 401ks from the age of 32 to 60. And instead of only putting it in for, I guess, the 10 years that they were maxing out their 401ks in that 22 to 32-year-old example, I'm maxing out my 401ks for 28 years from 32 to 60. Brad, how much would I have in my 401k with the path that I've chosen?
Yeah, so in that example, you've contributed $504,000, right? The 18,000 times 28 years, and you would have 1.85 million. And while that's still a phenomenal amount, it is significantly less than the person who started at 22 and only put in for 10 years, right? So they put in 180,000 total contributions, whereas you put in $504,000. But they're ending up with 2.4 million and you have 1.85 million. So there is no better example of the power of compounding and the power of time than that, in my opinion. So get started today. You might be a 39-year-old listening to this and you're just getting on your FI path. You have $0 of net worth. Your financial freedom clock has started and you're hearing this and you're a little demoralized. Well, don't be. Sure, the best time to invest would have been 20 years ago. All right, well, that's all well and good. The second best time to invest is today. Get started today and take action, right? Like that is what we always say here at ChooseFI is take action. You cannot worry about the past. You can't get down about it. It's irrelevant. You've found FI today and you can make moves to make your life better. In Jonathan's example, he had huge amounts of student loans and he really was just getting started around the age of 32. Well, you know what? He's going to max his 401k very, very easily and certainly save significantly more than that. But just from the 401k, he's going to have $1.85 million at the age of 60. So that in and of itself, it should be a very positive and heartening thing for you out there. So please don't think of this as negative. This is just to really illustrate how getting started today is the most important thing you can do.
And I think the other half of this is, we constantly talk about second generation FI, but the reason this story is so powerful is because as we've said over and over again, we have two audiences for this. Yes, we have the decisions that we would like for you to be able to make right away, but we're also always thinking about, for those of you that are parents or are going to be parents, how can we give you information that will change your family's future for the better? How can we give you information that you can use for your kids? And this is a show where we talk about these total life optimization strategies, and we talk about the power of the side hustle and how the side hustle is a full-on pillar of FI. And if we believe that that's true, if we achieve FI, or if along the way we start building this side hustle and we start thinking about how can we incorporate our families into this, when you have a side hustle, it gives you a lot of flexibility with starting to think, how can you get your kids on this path earlier? And Brad is thinking about this. How can I set my kids up? Knowing the power of time, knowing the power of math, is there a way that I can incorporate my kids into either my current businesses, or is there maybe a business that I could start that I could bring them alongside with me on so that they can start getting this stuff working sooner? And what's cool about what we have tried to do this whole time is share this learning curve with you. So we're not just doing this and keeping this information for ourselves. We're relying on experts that we know and we trust. We're getting them to share to lower the barrier to entry to some of these more advanced concepts, like how do you employ your kids or help your kids earn income at the age of 13? And then how do you move that income into some sort of Roth IRA, because they're already at a 0% tax bracket that has the ability to decrease your taxable income for this business that you've created, and at the same time fuel their Roth IRA. And that will then leverage the power of time to crush this game for them. And I think the appealing thing for many people in the FI community is if you help your kids choose this path, then the question about whether or not to leave them inheritance is it's a moot point, because they've already chosen the path and they no longer need this inheritance that you may or may not leave. I think there's a lot of appeal there for people at all stages of FI. And I'm excited that Brad is going to continue to learn the answers to this information, and we're going to get to benefit from this. And probably over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to be able to implement some of these ideas, and we're going to be able to talk about it on the show. Just there's a lot of possibilities here, and there's a lot of knowledge that a few people have figured out, but it hasn't been distributed to the masses. And lowering that barrier to entry is what we're all about. The reason Gwen was on this show is because she latched onto these ideas, and then she actually executed on these ideas. She actually did something. And that's the one thing that Brad is always trying to push, me personally, and he's also trying to help our audience achieve, is just take that first step, whatever it is. Take that first step. Don't just passively absorb this information and it's entertaining on the 30 minutes and that you're on the way to work and then you're done with it. You've forgotten about it. Figure out what's the one thing you can take from each episode, and then how can you implement this into your life to make your life better or easier in some small way. And so Gwen is a perfect example of what it looks like to find other people that inspire her and then implement those ideas. And then now she is inspiring to a completely different audience that is finding the concept of FI through her website, through her blog, and now through her podcast. So she's able to share her story through all these different venues. It's cool to see. The one other thing about Gwen that so impresses me is just her desire to be a part and help build a community. She has gone to multiple Chautauquas. She went to the Camp Mustache that we were at last year. She's actually going to be an organizer for a FI camp in the future. She is as involved in this community as you could ever hope for. And so it's really cool to see someone see how these ideas have benefited their life directly and then want to give back and help be a resource for other people. And I just find that entire story arc very compelling. So I have a pretty cool announcement to make. So we have brought up Steven and talked about Steven to you guys before. And for those of you to whom that name is not familiar, Steven is the organizer of the camp down in Florida. And Steven has been aware for some time now that there is a very real desire to see some sort of organizational structure and some sort of platform that we can use to foster meetups all around the world, and certainly within the United States. People are really looking for a way to connect with like minds. And Steven is willing to step up to the plate, and he's starting an organization called Camp FI, which hopefully we will see spread all over the US and hopefully around the world at some point. But he's taking time to see how he can help foster this. And he obviously has the experience from doing these camps in the past, and he has the skill set. And I got to say, to organize a program like this and to distribute this platform to multiple locations, it does require a very specific skill set to bring in the right guest, to create this environment that you not only want to go to, but then once you've gone to it, you want to tell all of your friends about it and you want to come back the next year, and to provide a consistent experience from year to year. And we're super excited that we can partner with him on this project and just to see where it goes. And I only bring this up now to tell you two things. One, that Gwen has actually stepped forward to partner with Steven, and she is going to be directing or hosting camps out of the Midwest. And I believe she's going to be doing it out of Minnesota, but she's actually looking for a location that we can use to have a Camp FI in Minnesota for those of you that are in the Midwest that want to participate in an event like this. And even more directly, there is going to be a Camp FI in Virginia, and Steven is currently locking down the location and the place. But for those of you that reached out to us that said that you are interested in participating in something like this in your specific geographic location, these are kind of pilots for that process. We're just looking to see how we can facilitate that, be a part of it, to get people to actually connect to like minds in their own community and in their own geographic region. We think it's going to be very cool. We're excited to see where it goes. But Steven actually said he's locking down the dates for April for a Camp FI in Virginia. So if that's something that appeals to you, there will certainly be more information on that coming to you, both on the podcast, but then also we talk about it almost on a daily basis in our Facebook group. And if you want to join the Facebook group, just go to ChooseFI.com/Facebook and we'll send you the invite to join that group. And the conversation is continuing week round with over 3,500 members. It is remarkable how quickly that group is growing. And speaking of the Facebook group, this is the part of the show where we've been telling you for a while, we're going to announce the other 3 finalists for the Side Hustle contest. And if you're asking yourself, well, what is the Side Hustle contest? We featured the Side Hustle and gave it its full episode back in episode 30, and we partnered with Alan Donegan to bring that to life. And I say we brought that to life. That was 100% Alan. He is amazing. And right now, probably it's ending today, he's been out in Longmont, Colorado with Mr. Money Mustache, actually doing a pop-up business school there, helping entrepreneurs and future entrepreneurs turn their ideas into an actual side hustle or business. This is just what he does. He goes all over the world now. It used to be more focused in Europe and the UK, but now it's all over the world, helping people just get off the couch and actually do something, take action, and start their side hustle. It's very cool to see, and it's even cooler in our community, the FI community, where we talk about the side hustle on almost a daily basis as a lever that you can pull to free yourself from the hamster wheel. But even more than that, Alan was unbelievably generous, and he wanted to do something that he'd never done before and actually offer one-on-one coaching with a single individual for the next 1 to 2 years, where he will help this person actually take their idea and walk it from the beginning stages where it's just being crafted to the very end of the product. He'll help them across the entire journey, and he'll do it both on and off the show. So we'll be able to extract from this journey things that we can share with our audience. And so people submitted their ideas. The finalists were selected by a panel, and then those finalists were offered up to our Facebook group to vote. And because we had 6 finalists, we split that up into 2 parts, and we're going to feature the last 3 finalists for you today.
And yeah, it's really important to note that the reason we're doing this and the reason why we're spending so much time in the next year or 2 on this side hustle and on building this one particular business is not that, I mean, of course, we want to see this one business succeed, but most importantly, we want you out there, the audience, to take action, right? So our plan is for every single month for Alan and the winner of this competition to come on the podcast with an update and with a lesson from Alan. So this is going to be sequential, right? That's the most important thing here. You're going to be able to follow along and build your own business with Alan and with the winner of this competition. So while it'll be interesting to hear about them and their business in and of itself, the more important thing is we hope hundreds and hundreds of you start your own business and make this happen and give us updates, and we can put you on the podcast, right? This is about the community at large, and we believe that the side hustle is an essential part of the FI path. And like Alan said, it should have been one of our pillars of FI, and we are certainly dedicating time to make it one of them.
So let me go ahead and get this thing started. And our first finalist that we're going to play is Amjad.
Hey, Brad and John. I'm calling in to compete in the side hustle competition. Thanks so much for holding this. I really value the work that you do and this podcast and so many others that educate and teach people about the values and how to achieve financial independence. My name is Amjad Chaudhry. I achieved financial independence in June 2016 at the age of 30. I continued to work another year to pad my investments and to have some profit left over from my company to then invest in other areas, which I'm focused on doing in the coming months and potentially a year. How I became financially independent, very briefly, I work in IT. I graduated from CU Boulder in Colorado, the degree in electrical and computer engineering. I got a job even before I graduated, thankfully, and I was able to pay off my college loans very quickly because I was earning dollars for the first 6 months as I lived basically cost-free in India. And for the next 8 to 9 years, I consulted for enterprise retail companies through Infosys and IBM, much of it through my own LLC, which allowed me to have a greater revenue or a greater income than I otherwise would have had working as a full-time employee. I retired from full-time work just 2 months ago at the end of April, and I've been traveling ever since, thinking about my ideas and potential side hustles. And this competition has really come at a wonderful time for me because I've been thinking about these side hustles anyway, and this competition has really motivated me to concentrate and focus more on what exactly I want to pursue. My ideas, I think they're a little unique, but I have 3 or 4 main ideas I'll try and cover now. The first one is geographic arbitration. I've heard many good things about Puerto Rico in terms of business climate and new legislation being passed by the government to encourage investment into the island. This is largely driven by the fact that the island has been in a recession for a long time, and they're enacting policies now to help reverse that. And I'm a big believer in how good economics and good politics can help any situation. And I want to see how I can be part of the solution there by investing in the island and taking advantage of this new legislation in Acts 20 and 22 in particular, which allow for 0% capital gains tax for individual investors and 4% corporate tax for corporations that have export services from the island. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I will be going in September. I'll be staying there for the whole month to make sure it's a good climate and to explore these opportunities. So number one is geographic arbitration, shifting to Puerto Rico and expanding my software company there. I want to continue consulting for DevOps engineering potentially, but definitely would like to get into mobile app development. Side hustle number 2 relates to renewable energies, which is a big interest of mine. I would like to build a solar farm in Puerto Rico. I believe it would be cost effective. I believe it would be profitable. The existing power infrastructure in Puerto Rico is unfortunate and outdated and not very reliable. And I believe that the latest technologies with solar power and battery storage and even the possibilities around the latest blockchain technology and microgrids could really benefit the society there and provide for more reliable and cheaper electricity for the residents. And I'm looking forward to looking into that further. I thank you again for this competition. I look forward to the responses, and I hope the audience enjoys my ideas. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. Adios.
All right, and then the next finalist is Talus.
Hey, Brad and Jonathan. This is Talus. I am extremely excited about the most recent podcast episode, the Friday Roundup, where Alan made an incredible offer to do this pop-up school coaching one-on-one. I have been listening from the beginning, and my husband and I have been making tons of changes to how we save, how we spend, how we invest, and let's just say we are well down the rabbit hole of ChooseFI. So I would love to pitch my idea to Alan. I would love to receive this coaching. I used to teach dance, ballroom dance full-time. That was my full-time hustle. I was competing professionally and doing really well doing that. And when I went back to school to get my master's for dance, I focused heavily on the benefits of dancing for people with Parkinson's disease. That's something that's touched my life personally. And there's actually quite a bit of evidence to show the tremendous benefits of dance for Parkinson's. Since graduating, I can now stay home with my son, who's 1, but I am still teaching on the side. I'm offering classes for people with Parkinson's, and I get hired to speak at conferences that are here in the Midwest. But the first question that I get asked when I'm speaking is, can you please come to my town and offer a class? And that's something that's really hard for me to do right now. So I would love Alan's help in helping me franchise this, helping me teach other people how to offer my method so that I can help as many people as possible with Parkinson's and offer these classes well beyond what I'm able to do on my own right now. So huge fan of the show. I would love to be chosen for this. I am super committed. I have the time. I have the energy. I have the drive. Again, my name is Talis, and I hope so much to hear back from you guys soon. Good luck with the remainder of the show. Keep it going. Keep it coming. We love it. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. And then our final finalist is Katrina.
Hi, it's me, the only one you want to know. Let's get acquainted for this FI show. I heard your call for entries and my ears perked up. I need coaching. I'm what's up. Single working mother with 2 kids in tow. Trying to find freedom but make more dough. Working at the office all day and at home all night. Work hard is the American plight. I wake up in the morning and let the dog out. Teeth brush, body wash, steady rushing, no doubt. I make breakfast and lunches and we're out the door. Hurry, and there's so much more. My morning commute over Mobile Bay while I think about the things to get done that day. Sitting at my desk, checking off lists all the time in my head. Man, I miss my kids. I want more, I need more. We deserve more. There's so much out there we've got to explore. My kids need more mom and I need more than them. I've got to find a way to make it happen. This balancing act is so unnecessary. It doesn't serve me, makes me grouchy, contrary. I want to show them the world. I want to show them what's right. I want to show them all the things that bring love and light. But how do we do it? How do we win? The time, the love, the life we deserve. I know. I'll get up the nerve. I'll do something different. Develop some verve. This year's vision was about stepping out of my comfort zone, trying a new route. So what can I do that's so far out, totally not me, and go all out? I need to think fast, need something ASAP. What could be more crazy than for me to try to rap? I got no rhythm, but college taught me rhyme. I studied real hard and showed up on time. I got a BA and MA and was on my way. Got married, had babies, stayed home and all that, but that didn't last and now it's this and not that. Back to work and I love it, don't get me wrong, I work hard, pay the bills, help with homework, hit the hay, just to wake up and do it again the next day. We need to find more time, we need to find our zen. I need to win some time with Alan Donegan. When I heard about this contest, I thought, I can do this, so please choose me and let's start a biz. So my name is Katrina Smith and I'm a 38-year-old working mother in Mobile, Alabama. I work as a marketing coordinator, creating the presentations and other marketing materials for an engineering and construction firm of 1,400 people. I really do enjoy this. The work is challenging and I like creating visually interesting materials. My background is in art and education. I studied art therapy as an undergrad and got my master's in art education. While I don't have a ton of time on my hands, I do like to spend my time bettering myself and researching ways to better the life of my kids and I. And my kids are also supportive of my ideas and like to help out. I've recently started on the financial independence path. I'm not currently financially able to travel with my kids. I'd like to create a life for us that involves more financial freedom and more time together. To sum myself up, I'm passionate about my children, travel, art, fitness and nutrition, the outdoors, and hiking and camping with my kids, along with many other things. Recently, I've gotten into fitness and nutrition. After my divorce, I got very unhealthy and gained a lot of weight. 5 years later, I've lost 40 pounds and become involved in fitness and wellness locally. I'm on the board at my local YMCA, and soon I'll start training to be an instructor there. I don't have a specific business idea because I'm passionate about so many things and know that I could succeed at many businesses. The businesses and side gigs I've thought about before include fitness instruction and personal training, social media marketing and presentation creation for small businesses, family travel blogging, and financial independence blogging from the single working mother perspective. So pick me and let's figure out the best route for me. Thank you.
And I should say that Brad and I, while we are unbelievably excited to be a part of this contest, we are going to try to be somewhat dispassionate in our feedback. And that's just because we really want our ChooseFI community to be the one that gets a chance to vote on these, and we don't want to have an undue influence on that process. And so the voting is going to be open from Friday morning all the way through Tuesday evening, and people in our Facebook group, our ChooseFI Facebook group, will be able to vote on who they would like see go to the next round. And then the 2 finalists from each of these rounds will then go into a head-to-head poll, which we will then ultimately choose this winner from. Thank you to everyone so much for your participation in this process. It's been very rewarding, and we hope that you continue to benefit from it. The ideas that our contestants have brought forward have just been unbelievably good, and any one of these will make for a fantastic story to follow. And it's not just their specific business model. It's the thought process behind starting a business. It's the implementation of the tax code, and it's using creativity as an alternative to going massively into debt to start your business. So we're very excited to see how this conversation proceeds and what Alan is actually going to bring to this conversation that, frankly, Brad and I just simply wouldn't be able to offer. Very, very cool to be a part of. All right, so this show is very intentionally done in segments where we want to feature these different concepts and ideas that all build together to tell a story. And occasionally we just get a career path that simply has to be highlighted as maybe an option that you hadn't considered before. And so I have a very cool voicemail that I want to play for you today.
Hey, Brad and Jonathan. My name's Justin, aka ATC-FI, will be the moniker that I'll choose for myself. I wanted to choose that moniker because ATC stands for Air Traffic Control. And FI? Well, of course, everyone knows what that is. Wrong. I did not, as of 2 months ago. I've been on an insane learning curve, picking up all the different acronyms and things that you guys talk about. I'd never heard of FIRE, so it took some time for me to soak in all of the different concepts, but my wife and I have truly been changed because of your content. So I wanted to highlight my career today as one of the careers that maybe you could highlight on the show and let people know that there is a job out there that you could make really good money. Obviously, that's relative, but you can make really good money at a young age with no debt or experience. Air traffic control is an awesome career that I've been in for 5 years. One can apply on usajobs.gov. About once a year, they come out with a bid, sometimes less, and all you need to do is go to the website and apply. To be eligible, you must be less than 31 years old. You must have 3 years of work experience in any job. Could be at a fast food restaurant or any job, or a 4-year degree, or a combination of the both with 1.5 years of full-time work experience and a 2-year degree, for example. But no one has to have a degree. You could have 3 years of work experience and be eligible to apply. You have to jump through many hoops with the federal government, but once you jump through all the hoops, you can begin training. They send you to Oklahoma City for 4 months, and you start off at a salary of $30,000, but for those 4 months, you also get paid a per diem of $97 a day for living expenses and food. So the salary is closer to $50,000 if you look at it from that perspective. Also, once you graduate from Oklahoma, they do send you anywhere in the country. There's different levels of facilities from level 4 to level 12. There's also Tower, which most people see at the airport and understand that it exists. And then there's also Center, which is where I work. Depending on whether or not you get sent to a low level 4 or a high level 12, could be Tower or Center, the pay does drastically change. So once you get to your facility after the 4 months of training in Oklahoma, everyone starts off at $40,000. Depending on if you're a level 4, the checkout or certified pay is about $60,000, give or take. But if you're at a level 12 in a high cost of living area, let's say New York Center, then the pay is somewhere around $140,000. So it does take time to get certified. So let's use an example. You get out of high school, you begin pursuing some college, you're 19 years old, you've been working for 3 years, plus you have a little bit of college. You're eligible. You could essentially start in Oklahoma maybe a year later at age 20. You could be 22 years old and be fully certified at a level 12 facility making $150,000, give or take. Could be a little less, could be a little more, depending on what facility you're in. I have to say, that was amazing. And anybody that hears that story probably is going to say, that can't be true. But I assure you it is. So I wanted to highlight that career and let you know that I'm here if you would like to reach out and get any more information about it. I could certainly give you the odds and ends about it. So number 2, I wanted to let you know that I got my personal capital call today. It really made me laugh. After listening to episode 32, I did download the Personal Capital app and insert all of our information. And we got the call today. It really made me laugh. And I had to reach out and just let you guys know that you're awesome. The show is awesome. The idea of a money-making machine that is going to pay my wife and I for the rest of our lives really blows my mind. And my wife and I are full speed ahead, gazelle intense to try to pursue the FI life. So thanks again, guys. If you have any questions or anything for me, feel free to reach out. Thanks again, guys. ATC FI is out.
Your mind is blown right now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a heck of a job, right?
Wow, Justin. On so many levels, that is awesome. Just let's talk about the first thing, which is air traffic control. I had heard that was a fantastic career path, maybe somewhere from somebody. But there's two things I didn't know. One, I didn't know that was something that could be replicated, that you could, I didn't know the process for getting involved in that. And I can tell you, I've already sent this voicemail to my brother, who I think would absolutely be interested in this process. Two, we just started this conversation by talking about a case study of what it would look like to be able to get started with your first job at the age of 22, and how if you can avoid the hamster wheel of debt, the 6 figures of student loan debt, and you could find a more optimized path, this is what that looks like. And I think the cool thing is it's just finding somebody else that's done it, that can model it for you, and then finding out what that process actually looks like, and then positioning yourself to replicate that process. That's what Gwen did. And I think by having people like Justin be willing to step forward and share their story, there's so many people that can benefit from that. And all they needed was someone to plant the seed that it's possible.
Yeah, and how cool would it be to have a list of jobs like this that exists throughout the country and the world, right? I suspect there are many, many jobs that people can potentially earn 6 figures and not need a college degree, or in this case, need some combination of work experience and some college. I mean, it would be really neat if the community could come together and catalog these things so that second generation FIRE or people in college now, or even just people looking for a new job, have a list of these amazing options that we all just kind of have in our own little silos. You might know some information that would be helpful to thousands of people, and you have no way of getting it out. Well, now you do. We'd love for you to send this to us, post it on the Facebook group, or send it to our email at feedback@ChooseFI.com. And yeah, we'd love to mention your job, send a voicemail in, whatever you want. I mean, this is an important project for the community.
And then the other half of that is how quickly he's making progress. And to get that Personal Capital phone call, especially when it's baked in as one of the milestones, very, very cool stuff. So at every level, Justin, thank you on a personal level just for sharing. I have family members that I've already shared that information with. And I hope that people in our audience, if they are interested in reaching out to you, they'll let us know so we can connect you guys. But I'm sure you're probably going to get more interest than you were expecting. And we appreciate you taking time out of your day to help coach a few people through that process. For those of you that listened to episode 32 and are working on your milestones and wanted to use Personal Capital like Justin did, just go to ChooseFI.com/PC. P as in Paul, C as in cat. And that is an affiliate link, but you can get that software. It's an app and it's software for your desktop, totally free to use. And it's a fantastic resource to be able to track all of your different investment vehicles and finances in one place. Really, really remarkable software that they put together. Okay, well, unfortunately, guys, that is going to bring this episode to the end. We'd like to finish every single Friday Roundup by doing a drawing for a copy of a book that we found useful. And we have been doing J.L. Collins' book, The Simple Path to Wealth, and also Dominic Cortuccio's book, Design Your Future. And if you would like to enter that drawing, it's very simple. All you need to do is just go to ChooseFI.com/iTunes, follow the instructions there to leave us a short written review. And once you've done that, just shoot us an email to feedback@ChooseFI.com, just letting us know that you left the review and what screen name you left it under so we can match you up. And then every Friday on the Friday Roundup, we do this drawing for the book, and we do one book for every 5 written reviews that we get, and we announce those winners on Friday. So, Brad, how many winners do we have today?
This week, we are giving away one book, and the winner is Amy. And Amy said, "Don't miss ChooseFI. This podcast has turned occasional car commutes into a pleasure and made my morning walks even better, as I learned from the insightful thought leaders in the FI space. While my interest originally started with Mr. Money Mustache, this podcast has taken over as my go-to. It has truly connected the FI community and helped me get new ideas on what will work best as I pursue my own FI path. I met Steven, the host of Camp Mustache, when I hosted an Atlanta area FI meetup in my backyard around the fire pit. The fire is spreading, and I love having so many ideas and perspectives to help keep me at the top of my game along this journey. Keep up the good work, Brad and Jonathan.
That's awesome. Thank you for being a part of the ChooseFI community. If you want to support us, here are 4 easy ways. 1, leave us an iTunes review. If you want to do that, just go to ChooseFI.com/iTunes. 2, use our page to sign up for travel credit cards. If you want to travel the world with miles and points instead of your hard-earned dollars, then just go to ChooseFI.com/cards and get started today. 3, if you're working on the milestones of FI, set up a personal capital account to track your progress and use our affiliate link. It's completely free, and just go to ChooseFI.com/PC. P as in Paul, C as in cat. And 4, and most importantly, find your friends, coworkers, and family members who might be open to this message and tell them about the podcast. Have them start with episode 38, The Why of FI, and right behind that, have them go listen to episode 21, The Pillars of FI. It is a fantastic starting place. And as I always say, the fire is spreading, my friends. We'll see you next time as we continue to go down the road less traveled.
You've been listening to ChooseFI Radio Podcast, where we help middle-class America build wealth, one life hack at a time.